I have needs. I got needs. Can't wait. Yes, Glenn. That's good. Good, Glenn. Good. Just like the moans he makes with her daddy. Unsubscribe now, I guess. Hi, howdy, y'all. This is crazy. 2K of you. I'm pretty sure y'all bots. Leave a comment down below if you're a bot. But like, y'all, thank you. This is crazy. We're at 2K. I love you all. Thanks for being here. Listening, sit on my butt, talking about books. But I do have to give my thanks, as always, with these sort of milestones. The people who have made me who I am now and this channel. Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Alex from What Page Are You On? Because without his review of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, I wouldn't have found out about BookTube. CJ Reads and Rebecca Eats Books, both of whom I love, really taught me how to talk about books, the kinds of books that are out there, and how to build internet persona and just like existing online. And of course, Savage Reads, Ben from Benjamin Journal, and Ben Reads Good for sort of bumping the channel and always mentioning me, because y'all too lovely and sexy, and they read sexy stuff too. So if you haven't, I'll have everyone linked down below. And also thank you to all of you. Without all of you, this channel wouldn't exist, and I don't think I would have found this space. And I'm so glad that I have this space now to be able to talk to all of you about books. So also everyone who leaves a comment and has left wonderful messages and book titles. I've added a bunch of books to my TBR thanks to all of you, and just being able to chat about books. Y'all too sexy. Love that. We need more people reading out there, because y'all, you know, I read because reading is sexy, and if you're not reading, you're not sexy. Okay. Thank you for all of your questions. Y'all way too curious. So I'm gonna have to split this up into 2 parts. I'll be starting off with like book stuff, because this is a booktube, and me stuff, just stuff about me. So yeah, let's go. Book stuff. Do you have a favorite Lispector short story? Yes, I do. I think I talked to someone about this in Bibliosophie's and I's chat. I'll leave that video down below as well. But it is The Egg and the Chicken. I feel like The Egg and the Chicken is that classic philosophical inquiry that we're dealt with as kids. Lispector uses that, expands upon it, using nothing but her usual pathways into telling a story. And it's crazy the way that you can create something out of nothing. And it's Lispector doing God in the short story form, which is why I love it so much. Which author has most influenced your style? A few. I'd say Joan Didion. Joan Didion really taught me how to write a sentence and to cut it up, where to add a period, where to add a comma. And there's a very specific and succinct flow to her work that really clears up a lot of sort of the garbage writing, I call it. Sometimes when I'm working on a story and I just need to be writing and creating words within that container, I need to look to Joan Didion in order to just cut out all the BS and just write what needs to actually be within the text to deliver what is a finished novel, finished product. Lucia Berlin as well, I think within the same vein as Didion. Berlin has this specific fluidity as well, with a lot more empathy, where I feel like Didion is cold, and sometimes there is warmth in spurts. Berlin has, I think, a stronger warmth to her work, is really human as well, which I love. I also have to mention some movie people. Woody Allen, I enjoyed his earlier films, and I know how y'all feel about Woody Allen, but like, in my upbringing, Woody Allen really just, he changed my life in terms of how I saw art and how I can create art. He made me realize that you can write about sad stuff, but you can also be funny about it. And some of those earlier films like Annie Hall, Love and Death and Manhattan, which bleh, I don't even want to go into that. But when I first saw it, Hannah and Her Sisters, Husbands and Wives, all those films have allowed me to create characters and be able to see how characters interact with each other in real human ways. I also want to mention Ingmar Bergman, who also taught me how characters can deliver monologues without having to feel too monologue-y and stage play, but also how to speak within the mind and how characters can speak of the mind outside of themselves and with other characters. Shout out to them. I love them to death. I look over their work constantly. If I'm ever in some kind of a rut or block, they really do help me figure out what I need in my writing. Comfort films you return to over and over again. Oof. Oh, there's so many, but you're probably sick of me talking about this, but Frances Ha, I love Frances Ha. It's just the perfect New York film, black and white. She's a loser and she's a winner at the same time. And it's her just really figuring life out. And if you watch that film, like rewatch it within your 20s, like every so often, you get something incredibly different out of it. And it really is just like existing within your 20s. What to do with your 30s. I think really nice prep for what to do with your 30s. Some other films, Manhattan Murder Mystery. It's a fun Woody Allen film, but I just love Diane Keaton in that movie so much. All of her fits in that film, out of all the Woody Allen films she's done, the fits in that one, so good. I just love her. Style icon, for real. Also, y'all, get yourself a bevy. We're gonna be here well, I think, so yeah. The Before films, I think, are also a great film to revisit every so often to just, yeah, it makes you reassess like what love is in your life and what people mean to you and all the relationships that exist within your life, romantic or not. I think the way that Celine and what's his face, Ethan Hawke's character, talk to each other in that film is just what I want and desire and need so much out of all the friendships and any relationships that I have. It's what I aim for constantly. High expectations. So sorry if you're my friend, but like, yeah, we have to be at that level in order for us to remain friends. I always say Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind as a comfort film, but I don't return to it enough. I think I've only like seen it 4 or 5 times in my lifetime. I really do need to pay to revisit, but I think about that film a lot because I think it's the perfect film. Charlie Kaufman films are just what I love about storytelling. You have the philosophical, but also it's funny, it's a bit dark humored, and it just has these fantastical elements and really makes you think about your own life and just that direct line between life and cinema, life and art is just what I love about his storytelling. Ooh, I love me a Jacques Tati film. Any Jacques Tati film, but like Traffic, Les Vacances de Monsieur Hulot, like any of his films, I love that. I could put it in the background, which is awful to say, but like I can watch them at any time, any given season, and just puts me in a good mood. One author you know who can get you out of a slump. Y'all probably gonna hate me for this, but Murakami, Haruki Murakami. There's one Haruki Murakami book that I constantly feel like I need to pick up whenever I'm in like a major reading slump. It's Sputnik Sweetheart. I just think that is the perfect Murakami level in terms of his usual like romantic stuff. This one's between lesbians, which I love. Has the magical realism as well, but it's slim, it doesn't meander too much, and it's perfect. Just perfect in size, delivery, and it isn't sort of that yucky Murakami that you get, and it's just perfect. Because lesbians. I can't wait for his new book. It's already out in Korea, but I think it'll come out maybe next year, end of next year. Can't wait for it. My coworker is reading it at the moment, and they're enjoying it, so can't wait. But yeah, reading Murakami when I was an impressionable 16-year-old was just great. I just loved escaping into those worlds. And I think it's just that meandering quality about like jazz, literature, the magical realism, getting lost, eating at McDonald's, just like all that stuff is just, it's like Wong Kar-wai. Watching a Wong Kar-wai film. Oh my gosh, I have to, comfort film, Fallen Angels. I love that film too, just to go back. I recently rewatched it and it's just so, so good. That also brings me a lot of comfort. More so than all the other Wong Kar-wai films, because that one's, it's fun. It has his early gang thriller elements and Takeshi Kaneshiro in it also. Oh god, dream boy. I love him so much. But yeah, Murakami, y'all. You'll probably unsubscribe now, I guess. Next question. What do your family and friends think of your channel? Unspoken. I don't even like talking to it about my friends because it's like, whoa, gross. But I did muster up the courage and sent my channel to my mom, and she was like, oh, that's nice. And then that was it. Which is so odd because it's like, she'll ask, like, how's Korea? And I'm just like, this feels like the perfect thing to send to my mom, to like let her know who I am and also how my life is. And also, it's that line from like 20th Century of Women by Mike Mills. It's like, your mom only gets like a specific version of your life. There's this lived life that she'll never know of. How do you present that if you want to tell her about it? And that's it. I feel like this channel is like what that is. Yeah, she's like, that's nice. That's it. Okay, have you noticed a difference in Korean and American book culture? I feel like book culture in Japan and Korea are similar in that people prefer physical reads, although there are a lot of people who read on their phones and like say a tablet, but that's usually for like manhwa, which is like manga in Korea, and webtoons and stuff. So people are reading like a lot of graphic novels, comics on their phones and stuff, but people do prefer physical books. Also because like Korean books are so pretty, just like the texture of the paper is just so, so nice. It's soft, it's supple, it feels nice when you turn the page, like book ASMR. Korean books, so good. But yeah, people do be reading. It's hard to really say, but like I feel like in America, the literacy rate is so low, guys. But like when I was in New York, people read on the subway. People do read. It's just so hard to tell because America's so spread out, so it's really hard to have like a concentrated look on what book culture is in America. Boston's like a major reading city, so it's like so nice to see all the bookshops there. Yeah, people in LA read. Not on LA Metro, let me tell you that. San Francisco, people still read in San Francisco. But yeah, people still read. But I think a lot more people read in Korea. And I don't know if that's actually true because Korea is concentrated. People rely a lot on public transit and you're just busied with people constantly throughout the day. So I think it just looks like people read a lot. But like when I go into the bookstores, like all the tables and chairs will be filled with like people reading and like not on their phone. So yeah, I don't know. People like to own physical books too, I think. People like to collect stuff in Korea, so I think that's also something. What book trend do you want to see in 2024? More people reading. That's such a basic thing to say, but like we really do need more people reading. I just feel like we have short attention spans and we need to build longer attention spans. How do you do that? Slow down life, get off social media, and pick up a book. I'm gonna spit some shade here because there was this creator on, I think I found him on TikTok, and I just love his aesthetic and apartment in terms of like interior design and furniture. And he started a YouTube channel and he was saying something along the lines of like how he hated just like being on his phone on public transit. I was just like, then pick up a book. Pick up a book. And it's just like, yeah, like why do you feel the need to like pull out your phone? Pull out a book instead. I want more people talking about books. So here's your sign, y'all. If you want to start a booktube channel, do it now. Just do it. I would love to hear more thoughts on books. Also, no more like just like star reviews and like single line Twitter reviews of stuff. I want like fleshed out, full on thoughts. Give it to me. Give them to me. I'm like so done of like people just saying this is good, this is bad, this is interesting. And sure, I'm a culprit of all that too, but it's like I think being in front of the camera has allowed me to better express myself about books and what they mean to me. I also want that as a trend. I want more direct line and thought in how these books are actively changing our lives. Yeah, I don't want to get all preachy though. Ugh. I'm here for a reason. Books do change our lives, and literary fiction especially changes our lives because there's that direct correlation. These writers are writing for a reason. These writers are writing into our lives because they have lived their own life or are exploring things within their own lives. And it's that connection, this creation of art that I think, yeah, it just boils down to that Didion quote, you know? We tell ourselves stories in order to survive. So yeah, this is it. This is all survival. This is how we're surviving together. Yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why you're here, I hope. Unless you just like me, which is nice, but I think people are here for the books, right? Okay, anyway, who are the writers you model yourself after? Eve Babbitts. Y'all, I want to be Eve Babbitts, okay? I just want to live a fun, light, lavish life and write my silly little novels. How fun is it to like go on a date, have some food, have some drinks, maybe go out dancing, come back home, and then write. That's what I want. I want to be Eve Babbitts. Okay, what book do you wish you wrote? All the bad ones? Like, I could definitely rewrite them. No, I'm joking. Well, what I will say is I recently read something where I was like, I could do a rewrite of this because it was so bad. I'm not going to mention what book, but one particular book that I wish I wrote, it's Bonjour, Tristesse by Francoise Sagan. Like, I wish I wrote that. I wish I wrote that when I was 16. I wish I was smart enough, as smart as she was when she wrote it at 16. But it's about this little French girl who flunks out of school and gets into a jealous situationship, quote unquote, with her daddy, as this other woman enters his life, which is great. But like, yeah, she wrote that when she was like 16, flunked this album, and it just has the very feelings of what it means to be young, rebellious, and has that angst. It's just full of that fun teen angst, shameless in it as well, which I think gives it its fun honesty to it. But I wish I wrote that. Yeah, okay, next. What's your biggest piece of advice for effectively engaging in a critical reading of a text? This is a good question. I think it like boils down to that basic ass thing of like, put yourself in other people's shoes. But it's true. It's like, you need to put yourself within the story. It's in that you're able to develop empathy. You're able to see from the character's perspective. You're able to better understand why they're doing the things that they're doing, why they're making the moves that they're making. And then ultimately, you link that with what the writer is doing. Why is the writer presenting certain situations at these certain times? Why did they write it with this specific sense of prose? And why are they carrying the story with this rhythm, with this pacing, with everything? And when you have all of that, you realize what the writer is doing, what the writer is trying to achieve, and in larger part, what they want to say. What are they saying? And if it all works together. And then with that, I think you do have a major critical reading of the text. I think it's important to highlight, always highlight, because when you reread those highlighted lines, I think you get a sense of clarity in terms of what the writer is doing. This could be quotes, this could be specific moments of prose, alliteration, metaphors, simile, monologues, certain pieces of dialogue. I think with all of those, you do get a clearer sense of what you're reading. I hope that helps. This links to me stuff, but I'll answer it here because it is linked with book stuff. What do you do for work? How has it given you free time to read multiple books simultaneously? Are you enjoying what you do at work? I work in education. How has it given me free time to read? I work a 9 to 5, so usually the last hour of the work day, I do have like a bit of downtime to read. But other than that, basically, I just try to read whenever I can. Again, like being on public transit, it takes me 30 minutes to get to work by bus, 20 or 30 minutes. So I try to read on the bus. When I wake up in the morning, I try not to look at my phone. I read. And then before I go to bed, I read. Monday through Friday, there's literally no people in my life. Like all the people you usually see in my vlogs are usually like weekend affairs. All friendships are reserved for the weekends, and mostly it's just me, Monday through Friday. So that's, I guess, how I have most of the time to read, because it's just me, myself, and I. Yeah, people are a distraction. Books are better than people. Do I enjoy what I do at work? Work is work, I'll say that. I've always told myself that like I can never make writing my life. Because if I do, I think it just sucks out how I see the world and perceive it. So if I make how I see the world and perceive it as like a form of labor, paid labor, like 9 to 5, steady income paid labor, I would hate it. Job has its pros and cons. The pros is money. The cons is that you more or less hate it. Because stress, what have you, anxiety, all of that stuff. But it's fine. It's a fine 9 to 5. If you had to choose big 3 for every art form you're really passionate about, 3 authors, 3 music artists, 3 directors, who would it be? Oof, this is so good. Okay, I'm gonna split this up. 3 musicians that I would love to just be in chats with, be within their creative spaces. Like, I love music, but I don't think I could ever make music. I remember when I played piano and my piano teacher was egging me on to sort of compose music. I was like, I can't, I just don't have the brain power and creativity to create music. Writing, I can do, but like writing music is another level of creation that I cannot fathom. My brain cannot fathom. I appreciate its beauty, but I just can't. I really can't. I tried and I can't. Okay, but it would have to be Ryuichi Sakamoto. Like, oh, he has done so much for music in terms of the progressions of his genres and music he's made for movies, ambient stuff. Oh, just so rich. I went to an exhibition of his and it really like gets down to the itty bitty details of like how he composes music. And I remember there's this like one particular moment in a documentary or something where he's running outside because it's raining and he brings like a metal pot with him and he's listening to the rain with a metal pot on his head. Something around those lines. I may be misremembering that, but just his way of like running out for sound like a child, like a playful child. And I think that's what's so beautiful about his work. There's this playful nature to it in a childlike manner that I think invites curiosity, wonder, but there's like this ultimate beauty to his work as well. Another person would be Glenn Gould, because I think he's just wacky, just like the moans he makes. And also young Glenn Gould was kind of cute. He's a cutie. But yeah, he would, I think if I sat down with him, coffee, diner, whatever, he'd have a lot of really interesting technical things to say that would probably fly over my head, but I'd be like, ooh, yes, Glenn, that's good. Good, Glenn. Good. Nexus Beach House, I would just love to be like in the creative writing process of their music making and stuff, and just like band sessions, just to like talk, look over lyrics. I just love them. They have like my teen angst soul down to the core. Like if I'm ever feeling moody or sad, I love them. It's either Beach House or Cocteau Twins. It's either of those, but like Beach House, I love. And then last one is Chet Baker. I love Chet Baker. He's just like the kind of guy that you're probably up at 2 a.m. with, talking about sad stuff, and then being able to create art out of that. I got you, Chet. I'll be up at 2 a.m. with you, chain smoking, listen to jazz. Okay, 3 authors. Joan Didion, Clarice Lispector, and Virginia Woolf. Just like my homegirls. Like that's all I need for real. Those are my big 3. And then for film, it would be Woody Allen, Ingmar Bergman, and Jean-Luc Godard, because they really do it for me. They change the way I saw cinema and how movies are made, how I can incorporate it personally in my own writing and personal life. So love them. Do you have a short list of books that you think everyone should read, ones that will change the way one interacts with the world? I got this question because of All About Love by Bell Hooks. I do think there are mandatory reads out there. From the top of my head, it would have to be that, Bell Hooks, as well as Tuesdays with Morrie. Y'all, I know how we feel about that author. Mitch Albom. Tuesdays with Morrie changed the way I saw death and how to live life fully. There's a bit about that there's a bit in the book about a live funeral. It's between the professor and the student. The professor's dying. The professor asks for a live funeral where everyone comes and says, because like when you die and you have the eulogy and the wake and everything, all of these people are saying these nice things when you're dead. What is the point of that? You want to hear all those things when you're alive, right? So he has this thing of the live funeral where everyone is there and they're sharing all these stories, and it's just a beautiful moment in the book that I loved and changed the way how I'm very apparent about like what I want to bring into the world in terms of what I say and what I do. So that The Little Prince by say Exupery, that I feel like is the perfect childhood book that also speaks volumes to when you read it in your adulthood as well. I think it's a beautiful little story. I think those are top 3 for me, talking about like mandatory read for the human experience. What do you like about reading? Because books are better than people. No, there's this quote from one of the Before movies. I'm gonna read it here. Selena's speaking. She says, I think I'm always so much more happy with books and movies and stuff. It's like I get more excited about well-done representations of life than life itself. I think that pretty much sums up how I feel about literature and film in terms of my life. Can books do something for you that a person cannot? Yeah, again, it's that like lived representation thing. Yeah, I don't see a lot of people Monday through Friday, so it's just really just me. So yeah, books offer that companionship, I guess. I just love hearing different narratives, different kinds of stories outside of my own experience. It's a nice offering. When did you really get into reading? I've always been a big reader. I went to the library a lot as a kid. I just loved that there was this place you could go to for free stuff. Like you could borrow books and movies for free and just like eat up all these wonderful little stories. Yeah, I've always read a lot. And then there was a falling out somewhere, I think university? After university, I was reading less, definitely, just because of life. And then it wasn't until, I think, last year and this year that I really picked up my reading because of booktube. I've read a lot. More so, I think, than like within the past 10 years, which is so crazy to me because I'm just like, I read 147 books this year. And I remember like 5-6 years ago, there was a year where I read like 11 books. 11! Like, imagine if I read like 150 books that year. Like, imagine. The TBR is like really scary. It's this like huge mountain, y'all. And I'm just like, I want to read a ton of books in my lifetime. Like, why am I not doing that? Been a major reader all my life, but it hasn't been until like booktube that I've read more seriously, I think, and just more in general. Do you feel less needy in personal relationships because you have books? Yes, but that's also because I think I've lived a pretty long life, if you ask me. Just been that kind of person that's been to more funerals than weddings. Again, I think it's that thing where I think I just love other perspectives, love being within stories. I'm gonna mention Didion again. It's like we tell ourselves stories in order to survive. I still have needs. I'm a basic human being. I have needs. I got needs. Less needy? I'd say so, but I think that's also speaking from a place of privilege where having been incredibly independent all my life, Aries energy, let's go. But yeah, it's just that and the drive and just like my high expectations and stuff. I just have been fortunate enough to be in the company of books than people. If the universe could write your own customized book in the universe, what would it be like? Oh, if it had to be a book, I think it would be Solenoid, which I'm still reading, y'all, and I don't know if I'm gonna finish it, but it'd be that because it's a mess. It's a mess of a life. But if it was also a film, it would be Synecdoche, New York by Charlie Kaufman, because that's also what it is. It's a huge mess that'll never end, and there are just parts within my imagination interlinked. Have backrooms, dark backrooms, y'all. I don't even know if I want to be there. That is also very incredibly involved in like my own reality that I just don't know how to voice, but I think voiced quite similarly to Solenoid and Synecdoche, New York. Yeah. Which publishing house has the most aesthetic books? And I mentioned two. I think within our culture now, it's FSG. Having read a bunch of ARCs this year, I've read a bunch from FSG, and most of the times I'm picking these ARCs because of the covers alone. And most of them are from FSG, so I really have to say FSG puts out some banging covers. Whoever is the graphic designer out there, they're doing like really good work. One that's defunct now is Black Sparrow Press. They were an independent press from the 60s, and then they fell out in 2002. Yeah, they just do these gorgeous 60s designs. There's this authentic retro feel to them that also has this timeless quality to it. Like, it'll always be in fashion with the designs they have, but they have backed Bukowski, Lucia Berlin, Eileen Miles even, but I just love also all of the writers that they sought out because they were really seeking out writers of their time and writers that I think were doing really incredible, important work. There's still authors that I look to now. Like I read Bukowski. I read him at an impressionable age because it's just fun. I think he gets man pretty well. Lucia Berlin, who I still love, and yeah, Eileen Miles, who is unabashedly themselves and has this very specific voice that is also electric. Who's your favorite male author? Yes, y'all, though I read a lot of female writers, there are male ones out there that I do appreciate. John Fonte, he is sort of the lyrical Bukowski, if you will. He just has this like lonesome cowboy lyricism to him that's from LA. He's basically the male Eve Babbitts, except a bit more loserish, a bit less glamour. Speaks to, I think, the LA soul, if you will. Top book quote of the year. Y'all, there are too many. There are too many. But for my recent reads, I'll share these. Funny Weather, Olivia Laing. She has this portion about David Hockney and how David Hockney ends his letters. I'll read it here. She writes, "Looking is a source of joy. Asked a few years ago about the place of love in his life, he answered, I love my work, and I think the work has love, actually. I love life. I write it at the end of letters. Love life. David Hockney." I just love that so much. It's so precious. Another one is from recent fave, Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. "I hope I've made something interesting of my living. An alphabet, like a life, is a finite set of shapes. With it, one can produce almost anything." In tie with that, I recently read Alphabetical Diaries by Sheila Heti. Art is not essential, but love is essential. And maybe that is why people make art, to express their love of something. Tree, humans, the world, language, intensity of thought. And the person who doesn't respond to a work of art is perhaps missing the love of the thing which the artist is pointing to, lovingly. I think just captures exactly what I'm after, and what I'm after within art, but also when I'm creating it. And last quote. This was a quote that Charles had recently mentioned, but it was also a quote that my good friend Mallory had told me about, who's a poet. I think it was a few years, or actually the beginning of this year, that we talked about Dillard, because she loves Annie Dillard. I do love Annie Dillard and the way that she's able to capture nature, piece of nature, but also clean existential thoughts, the human existence within nature. But she has this line where it goes, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives." I think Dillard, if I were to rewrite that line, if we were talking about like rewriting stuff, I would take out, of course. I understand what Dillard is trying to do there, where she wants to take that pause within the sentence and really allow the examination to occur within the middle of the sentence, which is beautiful, I think. But from a Didion prose standpoint, I would leave it as, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. I think there's a stronger fluidity in that, and I think I want the examination of the sentence to exist at the end of the sentence, if that makes any sense at all. I think there's still room for pondering about the line after the sentence ends. Dillard, I think, because she writes very much from, I think, like a very present tense self, I think she's always the center of her presence. She uses, of course, to remain within the sentence. But for someone like me, I love the plain fluidity. Okay, anyway, sorry if you all enjoy breaking down a sentence like that. For how long have you mainly been reading literary fiction? A long while. I think even as an impressionable teen, I had no real interest to science fiction, fantasy. I mean, I've always loved like Terry Pratchett. I think Terry Pratchett was really cool reading as a teen. And I really do need to read more of his work. But yeah, I wasn't really a big like fantasy sci-fi reader. Yeah, I've always kind of read literary fiction. And if it wasn't that, it was like YA stuff because I was a young adult. But I think I seriously got into literary fiction because of BookTube. People like CJ Reads and Rebecca Eats Books were reading these books, and I was just like, wow, how are people finding out about these books? I need to read more of this stuff because it's very much my field, my territory. So yeah. What is your favorite literary work from the ancient world, if you have one? I had to think about this one because I was like, how ancient do we want to go? But I think of ancient, I think it'll probably be Allegory of the Cave by Plato. I read it in high school, actually, and I was like, holy cow, like Plato's crazy. Like, how was he able to like write all this stuff, but I'm like able to consume it? I hate Shakespeare. I'm sorry. Like, I can't do any of that old English stuff. I really can't. So reading that at high school, I was just like, ugh, God. But like Plato, I was like, wow, this is really digestible, actually. And it took me by surprise. I always think about that when I'm thinking of characters. Use it as sort of like a backbone for any way a character is developed or how a character is studied within a story. That's all the book stuff. I don't know how I'm gonna edit this, but oof, boy. Y'all, have you finished your bevy yet? I still got some coffee. Refill. Howdy y'all, it's me in the editing room, and I realized I didn't conclude this portion of the Q&A. Part 2 will be uploaded in a bit. I don't know, we'll see. But this concludes some book talk. Thank you all, love you for 2K. Heart goes out to you, truly. And love ya. Be well, do good work. Keep in touch. Oh my god, I didn't leave y'all with a wink.